rolling on forward here with the upgrade advantage, about to kick into 3-3, which is going to be devastating, and RSVP knows it. GG, ladies and gentlemen, and the first game in the series goes to QXC.
Very well done by QXC. I really liked his mixture of aggression as well as his positioning for the mid and late game. You can't argue with his game plan. His idea is to keep Protoss always on his toes. You don't know where it is because from the very beginning, he keeps introducing new forms of harass, right? The Reapers, the Widowmines, Marine Poke, the Widowmine drop into the actual drops, into having Ghost and Hellbats. It just feels like he was able to apply pressure all points of the game. And RSVP, did he really have a chance to establish his strategy? I don't think so.
No, I'm not. I think you were probably right in saying that it was going to be a double Colossus play, and it could have worked. The Viking count was pitifully low. There was a lot of Ghosts on the field. Absolutely, that could have worked. The problem was he didn't have the chance to get the Colossus count up. Think about 4 Colossi in that fight versus 2. Think about how different a fight that would have been. QXC would have lost that fight, and then the momentum would have gone in favor of RSVP, but it was too little too late.
Yeah, a little too late, but I can understand where RSVP wanted to go. Just, again, QXC kind of forcing the issue, and that's what we've been kind of hyping, and I'm glad we've been vindicated slightly just because we've been saying QXC likes to be aggressive, he likes to do this, and finally able to execute his plan. I want to see what RSVP is going to bring for game number 2, Totalbiscuit.
Yeah, I am intrigued. It's going to be interesting. I want to see RSVP be able to break out some of those super technical strategies that you've described, but he just hasn't been given the option to do that yet.
Yeah, I think. Well, regardless of it, he has to be a little bit more diligent. I don't know if he can try to be really cute with the pylon block and not be able to diligently scout his opponent. Again, don't trust what you see, especially in high-level StarCraft too.
Yeah. I mean, that pylon block kind of worked against him there. It's like, all right, yeah, that's kind of cute, but it did not do a damn thing. And in fact, he mind-tricked himself there more so than anything else. QXC with a neat trick like that, very, very much indeed. And we'll be going to the next game. We're just going to go straight into it, I think. I don't see any particular reason to hang around. And I am looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Because, again, I do want to see RSVP be able to break out something cool, be able to actually show his stuff here. But if QXC keeps playing like that, that is simply not going to be an option for RSVP.
Yep. Now, the RSVP has chosen Whirlwind. Whirlwind is, again, a map that Protoss players are kind of favoring if they like to be defensive. But RSVP, let's see what he has in store. He's kind of showed us all kinds of tech choices. He's shown us the Twilight tech. He's shown us the Robo tech. Haven't seen too much of Stargate play, although I really feel like Stargate play requires very high amounts of APM and almost no mistakes can be made. And RSVP shown that he has a pretty good tactical mind, but sometimes his control is a little bit on the sloppy side.
Well, this is what we get for trying to go straight into game 2 with bare minimum downtime. QXC and one of our casters are currently timing out of the lobby, which is wonderful. It's like, nope, you're gonna have a break. You're gonna listen to music regardless. So, folks, we're gonna go to a quick break while we reset up the lobby. We will be right back. Game 2, QXC versus RSVP coming your way. sorry about the delay, folks. We actually had QXC drop twice from the lobby, which is very strange. A couple of BattleNet problems here and there, but hey, you know, those are the pile of issues that we've had today, right?
Yeah, either that or he just really doesn't want to play on Whirlwind. All right, QXC, we get the point.
Oh man. Okay, so game 2 is going to be on Whirlwind. QXC showing dominant performance against RSVP. A couple of neat little tricks that RSVP showed, but unfortunately they ended up getting screwed over, really. The idea of saving the probe with the pylon was nice, but it actually resulted in him not seeing a little trick from QXC and not really scouting that double Reaper play, which did do damage. A lot of damage. It forced a lot of lost mining time, and it also gave very nice scouting information there to QXC. Oh well. Let's see what RSVP can do on this map, whether QXC will go command center first again, as we've seen from him, or actually play the same heavy gas style. I mean, I can't imagine he would go 12 gas on Whirlwind. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think command center first is almost it's not guaranteed, but it's just such an easy
strong.
give. Yeah, it's such a good thing just because all spawn positions are possible on Whirlwind, so it's a little bit tougher for Terran to get away with doing an early Reaper, and you go 12-12 specifically so that you can have Reapers 7 to 10 seconds quicker, and that's negated by the long distance and the fact that it's a 4-player map.
Exactly, yeah. That would be kind of embarrassing. The Reapers come along and they find it's the wrong place. Like, well, might as well make the most of it. One way or the other, we'll see what QXC breaks out, because we did see some really interesting and cool play, I think, from QXC in that game.
Yeah, QXC, I think if he can keep on this aggression, I don't think RSVP is prepared to keep up. We've been seeing RSVP crumble when it gets to 2-3 spots he has to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy in the red trunks playing Terran, he is
Complexity QXC.
And he's spawned to the southeast position. His opponent to the southwest in the blue trunks playing Protoss, it is
RSVP.
So RCP, let's see what he's got in store for us. He's been the one that's been under a lot of question. People don't know much about him. He's kind of this guy that's stepped away from the scene for about a year.
Yep.
I looked at some of his track records. There's not much really here from RSVP. Some of his most recent matches date back to 2011.
Yep.
So his stay as a pro isn't very high, but if you ever look at the forums, he's always there contributing ideas, especially the help a Protoss thread. He's very active. And this guy definitely has good theory, just that we haven't been able to see his execution yet match that head knowledge.
No, we have not. And QXC is most assuredly going command center first here. He does not have a barracks or anything else, so we'll be seeing that from him momentarily. Most likely he will do it on the low ground because there's really no risk otherwise. You know, there is a risk, that's kind of a lie, but you know, it is safe enough to justify that risk.
I completely agree, and I think as a result, if you can kind of predict Terran will do that, then that's why I really encourage Protoss players to they don't often get to Nexus first, and Whirlwind's a great map to do that. But I'll be saying that all day. I'm pretty sure, just because I don't think any Protoss will do it so far.
No,
RSVP.
No,
Yeah, RCP is taking one gas, though. I want to point out that he only has 2 probes on it, so he's doing something very specific to Totalbiscuit. Kind of like we were saying, it's very technical.
Yeah, I have to wonder what that is. I mean, it's got to be some kind of very specific timing that requires some very specific amount of gas. It could very well be some tech, but with 2 in gas, I mean, you could throw down a bunch of gateways. You could start to get a little bit aggressive. It's hard to say until we get to see a little bit more of this play. We don't want to assume that this is a mistake. I mean, a player of RSVP's level generally doesn't make that kind of error, but I have to wonder what it's going to turn into.
I think it's going to be for a faster Nexus. Yeah, in fact, he's moving out right now with 400 minerals, so
there we go.
Really actually kind of a clever way to do it, because I think you can still afford a mothership core really quickly. In fact, I like this. I kind of like this. You can squeeze out a Stalker if you need to, but you also have enough gas, so that way the mothership core can get out. That's actually that's nifty.
Yeah. Follows it up there and ends up getting those extra minerals just a little bit quicker. That's cool. Yeah, it's nice to see that. I mean, you were talking about him being a technical player, and there's a great example of just those smaller things which allow you to tighten your play up.
Yep. Meanwhile, QXC, we've seen it a couple times throughout the day. Double barracks follow up with the command center. Is he going to go 3rd barracks before 2nd gas, or vice versa? I want to also emphasize that on these spawn positions, it's a little bit trickier for Protoss to establish that 3rd base because your options are not good.
No.
Either way, it's just kind of in the path of Terran to just run over you with medevacs and bio, or just straight up push with the SUV pull when you have like 180 supply, which I don't like seeing, but I have to admit it's pretty good.
Yeah, it seems to work pretty well. You could do enough damage to kind of justify it, and then you can back it up with your triple CC production and the mules in the background, so it seems to work pretty well. But you're absolutely right about the spawn position. It's like, if you take it here, then, as you said, you're in the path of the Terran Juggernaut. If you take it over here, then defending against drop play and double-pronged attacks is extremely difficult.
Yeah, so we'll see if RSVP can recognize that and maybe even change it up with a 2-base push of some sorts. I do think that Colossus pushes are very good still in the metagame. A lot of, I want to say Wooge and Star Protoss is like Free was doing it a lot. SOS does it sometimes on occasion. I think it's really good to keep Terran accountable, just because, again, they like playing, Terrans like to play greedy. That's always been a hallmark of a good Terran player, knowing how to balance their greed. And immediately scans and sees a really quick robo from RSVP. QXC still has to follow it up, though, because one robo after one gate could mean a world of possibilities.
Yes, it could. It could very well. So we're going to see a second observer put out here from RSVP. Still no second, third, or fourth gateways being added on. It's generally extremely unusual to see anyone take up higher than that without adding on a couple of gateways, but we are going to see one gate Colossus right in here. That is really, really interesting. He's obviously going to have to throw down more gateways after this, but yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw straight up one gate into Colossus tech.
Yeah, it's not very common because it's not very safe.
No.
Even if you have enough units, because for a point of reference, a Widowmine drop comes around 645.
Yeah.
And so RSVP would have to deal with a Widowmines and Marine drop potentially with 3 Stalkers and a Mothership Core, and you might have Photon Overcharge in time. I mean, RSVP just hit the 100 energy mark, so it's going to be a little tricky. It's greedy, that's for sure, especially considering that RSVP also sent his first observer to his opponent's base.
Exactly.
But he also did scout a quick command center from QXC, so I think he's calculated the risk and he knows that he can get away with this. But for Protoss players who are watching and saying, I want to do this build, be very careful, because you could easily just get completely decimated by a Widowmine drop.
That's very, very true. Thankfully, QXC doesn't seem to be in the mood for Widowmine drops today. He is now rolling out for a poke with Stim and Combat Shield, and this is, once again, without medevacs. We have seen this quite a bit. Now, is that the factory just coming down, really, on 8 minutes 40? I guess it is. I thought, is that a second factory? That's a bit weird. But no, it is the factory. The factory which is going to give him that tech. This is going to be the late, really, really late medevacs here. Nice scan. Going to pick off the observer here as well. And the Colossus isn't out yet, but when this Colossus does come out, I think QXC is rapidly going to feel the pain. But the question is, can QXC actually do damage before that happens? He might be able to. Down goes the Nexus cannon. The Colossus is now going to come on the field here. I don't know. I think QXC is about to get a nasty shock.
Yeah, the Colossus is now out.
Hello.
The force fields kind of trap the units, although the Colossus is still pretty vulnerable. QXC is not necessarily going to chase it and separate his units, or will he?
He's... Oh, he gets it! He gets it! Oh, that was so close. That really shouldn't have happened. That one last shell took it out. That's actually really big. QXC continuing to apply pressure, but the benefit of this one-gate Colossus, this ridiculously early Colossus, has kind of been negated. Yes, he did defend. I mean, that's kind of, to RSVP's credit, you can say he did defend, but he lost more than his opponent there. There weren't even any medevacs in that push. That was not a big investment from QXC.
Yeah, this is the appropriate time where you can type "worth it" in the chat, and no one would be mad, except the Protoss player, at himself, that is. Just because it is worth it in this scenario. And QXC, he still has option to just follow it up, because RSVP, he's playing greedy again, saying he's going to go for Tempo Archives. It was a Colossus fake, but it's not really a fake anymore. This is kind of a just complete different tech choice.
Yeah, and it's not much of a fake anyway, really, when you think about it. You sacrifice so much to get to that tech, and then you just don't use it. I don't figure that to be a particularly good way of doing things, but I could be very much mistaken. So QXC, he kills the Colossus and he's done damage, but the economy of RSVP is still fine. The thing is that QXC is now taking his third. So this is the kind of time when RSVP doesn't have a big army, doesn't really have the right kind of tech, and is thinking, is there a timing that I can execute against the Terran player that will actually do damage, or do I have to sit defensively? Because if I do, I let QXC get his third base up uncontested.
That's right, QXC's third base. I mean, I don't really think RSVP can counter push right now. He's even dropping a forge, indicating he wants to go for upgrade style. So all indications show that he wants to just keep playing. Yeah, the third Nexus starts for RSVP. Can he hold on to it though? He's going to need a really tight grip if he's going to want to defend against the potential that QXC has, because he still has a very sizable amount of bio.
I see no way of him defending his third base here. He only has 2 Templar. He's only got 1 Sentry. This Nexus just get cancels immediately. I was going to say, there's no way that's getting up there. Now he's going to drop. And RSVP, of course, sees that that's the logical choice for QXC here. So he will be able to clean this up. He's going to try and pressure the natural as well. Where's the Mothership Core? We've got a bit of stack defense here, which will give him a couple of extra seconds. Mothership Core actually does not have enough energy. Storm comes down, though, and QXC is forced backwards. But this drop in the main base is still kind of going on. Has done some damage, killed an Immortal as well.
Yep, it's done a little bit, but the biggest outlying factor is the denied third,
exactly.
the expenditure of energy as well. High Templars had to storm in order to do something. RSVP isn't in a good position to counterattack, while TOXC's third base, it's sitting pretty.
Yeah, QXC tries to trick his opponent there and is able to take out several Stalkers. He will most likely lose these units before they can really do anything, but I don't know, he's kiting well here. He doesn't really have anything else to focus on. His macro in the background as well, getting Ghosts into play. These Marauders will eventually die, but they have done a reasonable amount of damage. Losing the medevac was unfortunate. I think it could have gone out with that, but there you go. Another scan goes down. This is a weird game, but there's no question that QXC's ahead with that third base up.
Yeah, I think the scan also puts a little bit more fear into RSVP. Is he going to drop again? Do I have to be more defensive? Do I have to spread my units out, or can I keep them all, culminated between the natural and the third base? Meanwhile, QXC's built up a sizable force. He's incorporating Ghosts. He also is getting Hellbats into his composition. His upgrades aren't as good as they could be, but granted, it's not like RSVP has been pushing out upgrades either. He's been frantically trying to get everything back at home.
Yeah, I mean, he's been able to get +2 ground armor, which will definitely be helpful, but the thing is, this is a Marauder-heavy composition. It's not a Marine-heavy composition, so that plus armor is actually not going to help him as much as you might think. And as a direct result, we can see a sizable, scary army here from QXC. This is not really going to hit at any particular timing. The upgrades are very much still on the way, but once he incorporates Hellbats into this, which could take a while because those Hellbats are going to have to get there first. He may even choose just to drop them. Feedback goes down, takes out a Ghost, and a little quick stim here by QXC to go forward. There's going to be a Zealot run by. It's actually going to spot the 4th base if RSVP actually decides to react to that. Currently, QXC is posturing in the middle of the map right now.
Yeah, and really nice movements from QXC, or read rather from QXC, to see the movement of the Zealots and react to it in time. Whoa, 5 medevacs seems to be. It seems Doomdrop seems to be the item, the secret recipe, secret ingredient for the recipe. Use your words, Frodan. It's been very effective thus far. RSVP is going to be pulled really far out of position. This gives QXC a small window because he can also just choose not to drop into the main.
Ooh, feedback shuts down one. Always nice to see there, but he wasn't able to do anything else with it. Colossus now moves into play. There's enough units to repulse the attack on the 3rd base, so this is being held up pretty well here by RSVP, but as you said, he's having to dedicate a lot to it. Another feedback goes down. Isn't able to finish off those medevacs. It would have been lovely if he could, but that is not going to happen. QXC now arcing his way around to the natural right now. There is a bunch of Zealots that are going to get shut down as they move towards QXC's 3rd base, and it's going to be one medevac that almost went down, but Concussive Shell is the savior of the day here. That was cleaned up. So, not the most effective drop ever, certainly. QXC actually is now not that far ahead of his opponent in terms of army supply.
Yeah, RSVP has stabilized a considerable amount. He has 4 Templars with a lot of energy. He's still got a couple Colossus. He also has very decent upgrades, and his 3rd base is pretty much safe for the meantime. In fact, pretty soon he can be safe enough to take a 4th base if he's able to really control the map a little bit more, and he's getting War Prisms out because I like his Observer coverage. It's very reminiscent of State. It's just covering all angles at which Terran could move. QXC also has not really been building too many Ghosts. He only has 1, and he had a couple get picked off here and there. As soon as he starts incorporating more Ghosts into his army, I think he's going to have a very fearsome army to be faced.
Yeah, I also like the fact that well, I do like the fact and I don't like the fact. This is a comment that I actually made. I think it was during a GSTL game where it was Beyond versus Crank, where Terran late game are getting into this situation where they build too many specialist units, either Ghosts or Vikings, and usually it's both. And as a direct result, they find out that if their Vikings get caught out of position and get killed by a storm or whatever, their army suddenly gets run over because they don't actually have enough meat and actual real firepower within it. That could be a bit of a risk, but I think QXC is balancing the Ghost and Viking count quite nicely right now.
Yeah, and I like that it's really heavily Marauder Hellbat. Marines obviously are a great DPS, but they really shouldn't be the emphasis late game. They're just too vulnerable. Unless they start going things like Archons and Zealots, then you kind of need the Marines in order to combat those. Other than that, QXC looks like he's going to start loading up some medevacs for Hellbat drops. He does lose it in the middle of the map, but at the same time he also discovers the attempted 4th base.
Yep, that's a nice little piece of information. It would have been great if he'd been able to actually execute the proper Hellbat drop, but the small drop comes in, but there's way too much defense for that to do anything, and that is going to get shut down. A little bit of mining time will be wasted. Perhaps a couple of probes go down, but they're losing the medevac not so great. And this is actually starting to get risky, because I've got to say, QXC losing those 2 drops, especially when you're in a 200-200 situation, can be a pretty nasty to have happen.
Yeah, he doesn't have actually that many medevacs. He only has
Nope.
3. He's starting to remake them, so you don't want to throw them away for nothing. Just because, yeah, it's a little costly gas-wise. You see QXC starting to reach the point where he has a lot of minerals, not a lot of gas. RSVP starting to move out to the middle of the map. 3-3 is about finished, while QXC will have +3, so a little bit of advantage there in RSVP's department. But still, it's all about how well RSVP controls his casters. He's bunching them all up, and a couple EMPs immediately forces RSVP back.
Yeah, that's big. That was a brilliant EMP, actually, by QXC. The entire army got hit by that. The casters at least managed to dodge it, but the Zealots and the Colossus taking big hits there. And RSVP does not want to take a fight now. The shields are far too weak. QXC knows that and is pushing out to gain map control as a direct result here.
Well, I do like that RSVP is also sectioning off some Zealots for run-bys. He still has that pylon also towards the southern parts of the map. Force QXC to spread a little bit more out so he can't get a complete ball up, especially with Hellbats and balls with the Terran army. It's just going to be really tough to deal with. Meanwhile, RSVP also loses his War Prism into the main base, so I don't feel like RSVP is doing the best job harassing, especially since the Zealots are funneling up against the bunker in the 3rd base.
Yeah, the bunker's actually going to go down, but that really is about it. He didn't really do that much damage at all. Scan goes down, and QXC saying, oh, that 4th base looks ripe for the plucking. Zealot run-by is going to come into the Planetary Fortress and get killed. There was a DT in there as well, but that's going to get targeted down quite easily, and now QXC is going to take this 4th base out. I don't feel that, no, that's not going to get defended at all, so that's dead. And now QXC can set up for a potential engagement, or he could just back off.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the wrong choice here, just because, again, it's so easy to bottle your units up in that ramp, storms and force fields and Colossus. It's every Terran's nightmare, consequently every Protoss' wet dream. Don't make those fantasies come true.
Couple of Dark Templar on the way here as RSVP warps in there, and he's attempting to tear his opponent apart, and he's starting to do a decent job of it as well. QXC starting to have to defend against harassment in multiple places. His worker count is actually starting to go down pretty quickly as the Dark Templar actually hit there, but now we have this big engagement. Storm goes down, doesn't really hit anything. It does keep the Ghosts and the Vikings away here, but QXC is starting to push forward here. Unless, is there another Storm available? There must be, surely.
2.
Yeah.
There's 2 on top of the ramp. RSVP lost a lot of energy in the EMPs, but at the same time, QXC lost almost all of his Ghosts. So it's not the caster fight in terms of Protoss versus Terran Army is not that high right now. RSVP is going to try to use feedbacks, but those Ghosts really can't do anything other than snipe and try to shoot this High Templar down. In the end, QXC is still just feeling out his opponent, taking out that 4th base, starving his opponent out of gas, trade armies, make sure that he's going to struggle with rebuilding his infrastructure compared to yours. That's the approach QXC is taking, and he's doing a pretty decent job of it, I feel.
I'm really worried for QXC, though, because all of those Dark Templar drops and the Zealot run-bys did a huge amount of damage while that fight was going on. We saw 36 workers killed. He's down to 38 now, and he doesn't have a bank to fall back on either. QXC's production is stunted. He's not using half of his production facilities because he can't afford to. RSVP, on the other hand, he's re-established his 4th base. He's got a bit of a bank going, and he still has 72 probes. So if QXC loses his army, I don't see him being able to rebuild it effectively.
No, you're right. I didn't see the run-bys kill so many workers, so I retract my previous statement because I thought QXC would be able to completely handle a remax, but the truth is it's a little bit tough just because his units are already damaged. You can see that it's as if his his army already got stormed once, and that's discounting the fact that they have to stim in order to engage once more. So QXC sitting in a little bit tougher position. The Hellbat drops, along with Bio, have arrived to the natural base. RSVP is calling back his entire army. That
Nice
might be a
pickup.
little excessive.
Yeah, I think so. It really is one of these Colossus. Here's the thing. You know what I was talking about, the specialist units earlier? This is QXC's prime example here. 9 Ghosts, 13 Vikings. These Vikings are going to be great for a while, but even against 8 Colossus, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be 9 Colossus. There's not a lot of meat in QXC's army, really.
Yeah, it's